Chapter 3, Priority 1, or Why 6 Alcubierre engines are better than 2. Even before the words had left the young man's mouth, Milo knew he had to show him the Sundog. He had hung onto that ship for 7 years now, intending to fix it up and fly it himself. But his wife, Elizabeth, had been after him about retiring. How much longer would he be working on the lot? Hundreds of air and spacecraft were in his inventory, many of which could not even get off the ground. She was concerned for his health. Milo Puckett had been gazing out over his 100-acre lot, pondering his future, which was getting shorter with each ship that left his inventory. Perhaps Elizabeth was right. They should take that vacation and go on that cruise to Nava Islands, which he had promised her 20 years ago. Milo was sitting through another slow day on the lot when the two men walked in. One human, the other alien, he did not know from where, as he was not good with spotting alien races. They were looking for something small, fast, and in good shape. And of course, they were working on a budget but would not give specific numbers. Milo showed them a constellation in excellent condition. Only 4 years old, its computers and propulsion systems were still under factory warranty. The alien liked it, but his human partner wanted something with more power. At that moment, a peculiar thing happened to Milo. He thought about Elizabeth and how beautiful she would look standing on the deck of a ship, sailing into Nava Islands with a glorious sunset behind her. Perhaps at the age of 73 and Elizabeth at 71, after 32 years of selling used space and aircraft of all varieties, the time had come to prove to her that all those years of work were not in vain. This young man in front of him wanted something with power. Milo knew the right ship for him, but was quiet about it. He realized at that moment, in a flash of self-honesty, that he was never going to restore the Sundog. He was at the age of ocean cruises with the misses, not restoring classic muscle ships and racing across the skies like a streaking meteor. The words spilled out of his mouth before he could stop them. "I've got an old Sundog if you're interested," Milo said. Rick's eyebrows shot up. "You got a Sundog? What year?" "A 71, I think." "It wouldn't happen to be a fastback, would it?" The Sundog had not left the same space on Milo's lot for the 7 years the ship was in his possession. The craft's gunmetal burnished gray skin lay hidden beneath a blanket of chalky, gritty dust and grime. Built by Cruise Craft, the first model of Sundog debuted in 2166 and quickly gained a following among power ship enthusiasts who thrived on nothing more than muscle and speed. The fastback model was added to the 70 through 73 editions, mainly a design augmentation in the body, a sloping continuous line from top to tail. The fastback Sundogs were manufactured in limited quantities and sequentially numbered, which only stirred up demand. Among the fastbacks, the Boss 808 version was available only for the 71 models, boasting more power for the sublights in the form of twin Blackstone Obsidian 452 ram burst engines, side stripes, and badging. Revenues for Cruise Craft soared. Unfortunately, changes in company leadership in 2172 brought a series of poor management decisions, which included discontinuing the fastback and scaling back on the ship's power and performance. Cruise Craft went bankrupt, and its assets were transferred to Epic Spacecraft in a highly publicized sale in 2180. Epic continued to make Sundogs, but they were a castrated version of the early 70 models, mere family cruisers for vacation romps to Jupiter and Saturn. Because of lackluster sales, the last Sundog rolled off the factory floor in the summer of 2186. Nobody cared. "QR, do you know what you're looking at here?" Rick said as he gazed at the ship before them. The vehicle sat leaning slightly to its starboard side like a wounded prize fighter. "A 71 Cruise Craft Sundog, fastback, Boss 808. "Okay, fill me in." "They only made about 100 of these. A power-to-weight ratio of 150 to 1, easy. And I betcha with a few mods I could tweak it even more." "And the hyperlights?" 6 Alcubierres. The Standard Hyperlight engine was named after the 21st century scientist who first theorized that the speed of light speed limit could be neatly sidestepped by manipulating the space in front of and behind the ship. Whereas light had a limit, space did not. All that was needed was two engines, one in the bow, the other in the stern, and a source of enormous power. So universal was his mode of propulsion that the name Alcubierre morphed into an ordinary common noun. 6, you only need 2, QR reasoned. Why settle for 2 when 6 will kick ass? Unable to counter that logic, QR shrugged and said nothing. Rick turned to Milo. Can we power it up? It ain't running, Milo said. Rick heard a chuckle from QR and turned in his direction. Where have I heard that before? QR said. May I? With Milo's permission, QR popped open an access panel beneath the cockpit's main displays inside the Sundog and lay prone on the deck, making a quick assessment. He activated his pocket computer and went to work. Schematic diagrams of the Sundog projected upward, and QR referred to them frequently as he worked. QR scurried from one part of the ship to another, sometimes running outside to check an area on the ship's exterior or engines. After 10 minutes, QR settled in the primary command chair in the cockpit. He used his computer to link to the ship's computer, and moments later, life hummed within the Sundog's frame. QR flipped a few switches, and the control panels lit up. QR, you are a genius, Rick said. It's a gift. Rick turned to Milo. Okay, Milo, let's talk. I got 60 grand cash. Oh, I couldn't take less than 100. 100? How long has it been sitting here? It's just taking up space on your lot. I might go as far as 65. For a 71 Sundog? A fastback, too. I'll be losing my shirt on 65. I can go 90. Rick thought it over but shook his head. Can't do it. QR, shut her down. Let's keep looking. Right. QR flipped switches and all went quiet. Rick walked out. Milo looked at Rick to QR and then back to Rick as his buyer disappeared down the ramp. Hold on, Milo said, pursuing Rick. If there was one thing a salesman dreaded more than anything else, it was the walk. Let bad weather keep the buyers indoors. Let the local economy slump. Let the provenance bank inspectors analyze the books. But do not let a potential buyer walk off the lot without a purchase. After another round of negotiations, Rick, QR, and Milo ended up in the office. Rick pulled out several plates of gold and platinum and counted them on Milo's desk. 79, 80, 81, and 82,000. Pleasure doing business with you, Mr. Milo. Milo scooped up the metal. The pleasure is all mine. You are going to love that ship, Mr. Lennon, John Lennon, Rick said. He was not going to leave an easy trail for Catherine. Mr. Lennon, did you have a name in mind for your ship? I got a stencil gun you could use before you take off. Rick thought about that and smiled as the ship's name came to him. There's only one name for a ship like that, he said. 2 big engines. 2 of us, QR and me. Rick programmed the design of his idea into the stencil gun and made some minor adjustments. When satisfied, he aimed the nozzle at the side of the Sundog's nose, pulled the trigger, and a black mist clouded the air as the gun hissed and sputtered. After a few moments, Rick released the trigger and waited for the mist to clear. A breeze carried the mist away, revealing the name of Rick's new ship, AC Dukis. The words framed the image of 2 playing cards, upper and lower, one card overlapping the other, the ace of spades and the 2 of clubs. The graphics edges were rough. The black dye bled together where one shape neared another. Traces of white highlights accented the edges, giving the design more pop. Traces of splatter dotted the negative space where the stencil gun had sputtered and spat. But the coarseness of the artwork drew a smile on Rick's face. It had character. Rick stood back and admired his work, QR at his side. So, which one of us is the ace of spades? QR asked. Rick was quick to answer. The one who's paying for the show. Right. Rick mentally checked this item off his list. The ship. Now for that other thing we need, he said. Ah, yes, that. That. When QR had told Rick that he knew a guy, what he had meant to say was that he knew of a guy. However, the guy in question was unacquainted with QR, but little did it matter. A mutual friend had recommended Mr. Cody of Evergreen Guns and Ammo, saying that he was a reasonable businessman. His prices were fair, willing to negotiate, and he possessed an enormous inventory of weapons in stock, common, rare, and exotic. And as QR possessed only a passing knowledge of firearms, that was good enough for him. Mr. Cody it was. But as Rick and QR ascended the steps to the door of Evergreen Guns and Ammo, QR could not help but feel a wave of nervousness sweep over him. What if the word on Cody was no more than exaggerated chatter or inflated opinions? As they entered the shop, QR breathed a sigh of relief at the sight of hundreds, if not thousands, of weapons scattered throughout the store. At least let it not be said that there was not a wide variety from which to choose. Rick stopped just inside the entrance to gaze at the sight. He smiled and said, I think I'm gonna like it here. QR, so far you have not disappointed. Thanks, Rick. Hope to keep it going. Cody, the owner, turned to greet his customers. As no others were in the store, he gave Rick and QR his full attention. He was alien and Umaizu. He stood about Rick's height, a little over 6 feet. His face was short and broad at the cheekbones, his skin a patchwork of purple and blue, which blended smoothly at the borders of the two colors. Good morning, gentlemen, Cody said in perfect Aranayan English with a perfect Aranayan accent, indicating that he had been a resident of this planet for much of his life. Rick and QR greeted Cody and got right to work. What do you got, Mr. Cody? Rick asked. What are you shooting at? Cody shot back. Rick chuckled. I like this guy, he said to QR. Just about everything, he said to Cody. You came to the right place, Cody said. Where'd you like to start? How about rifles? Rick made all the decisions, as this was his area of expertise. In a short time, he made his selections for QR and himself. Now for handguns. Cody recommended an elegant Patterson G6, but Rick was looking for something with more power. Cody returned to his stockroom to see what he could find. More power? QR said. Where have I heard that before? You gotta remember who we're going up against. He had a point, thought QR. He said no more about Rick's preference for power. Cody came back. He carried 2 handguns in their holsters. Okay, how about a pair of pikes? He said, placing the weapons on the counter for Rick's inspection. Model? 3. Rick took one of the pistols and looked it over. That enough power for you? Cody asked. Maybe. As before, Rick played down his interest, keeping it low-key. But internally, he was ecstatic to see the pikes. Not a common weapon. Pike was an established company with a reputation for crafting heavy-duty, robust, and reliable weapons, mainly sidearms. The 2 that Cody had brought out were used but in excellent condition. It can stop a charging Urboni in its tracks, Cody said, referencing a large mammal from his homeworld. I don't even know what that is, Rick said. Something like an elephant. $50 each, holsters included. Rick tempered his eagerness for the pikes. Yeah, I don't know, he said, rubbing the side of his face. I'll throw in a dozen 10-megawatt ammo packs, Cody said. Come on, you can't beat that deal. He was right about that, thought Rick. The ammo packs alone could cost close to 100 Aranayan dollars. He nodded. He always loved a deal when the seller threw in free stuff. All right, we'll take the pikes, Rick said. Cody tallied up Rick's selections so far. Okay, 2 Pike Model 3s, 2 Holloway and Sparks scatterguns, and a Singleton MP20 automatic. What else can I interest you in? Rick realized that he had been doing all the talking. He turned to QR. "What do you want, QR?" "I'll have the same," QR said with confidence. But in reality, QR had no idea what he wanted. "Fix up QR with whatever he wants," Rick said. "My pleasure," Cody said. They were well on their way to acquiring a sizable stockpile of weapons, but Rick was not finished. "But Mr. Cody," Rick said, "I'm going to need some arms for the ship. Needs to pack a punch. What do you got that's big? Really big?" Cody had to be careful here. He was a small-time seller. Large weapons, cannons, rocket launchers, and similar military-grade weapons were either illegal to sell or required a special license to do so. He did not have the license. However, the large weapons also carried large price tags, and on occasion, one or two of these types of weapons crossed Cody's path. "I don't sell the big guns," Cody said with a slight rise in his voice to show his firm stand on the issue. "Not allowed. Against provenance regulations." "Oh, them again," Rick said. Cody leaned in and lowered his voice. "But what I can do is show you my private reserve in the back room." He hoped that Rick would catch the hint he was dangling. "For serious collectors only." Rick caught on. "I might be interested in that." Cody led Rick and QR to the rear of the store, which served as part stockroom and part warehouse for storing junk. He guided his customers around a trail that had been blazed through a wilderness of boxes, pallets, piles of unknown machinery, and the occasional large gun barrel sticking out of a crate or box. He stopped at an object covered by a dark blue tarp. "I've got 2 of these," Cody said. He pulled back the tarp, revealing a large, twin Gatling gun weapon, each side consisting of 5 barrels. Rick marveled at the sight, picturing in his mind the kind of damage this weapon could inflict on an enemy. This thing could chew up a target in a matter of seconds. "Garrison 40-megawatt P-beam plasma cannon," Cody said. "Twin Gatlings." "I'll take 'em both," Rick said on impulse. He had lost all sense of bargaining as he gazed at the garrisons. He imagined one set at AC Ducey's nose and one at its tail. He had to have them. He no longer cared about price. "And you forget you ever saw me," Cody said. He meant it. "I have a very short memory," Rick said. "As do I." Cody saw an opportunity to expand this sale. "Gentlemen, as it appears that you are anticipating a confrontation of sorts, might I interest you in a shield generator?" Rick looked at QR. "I didn't think of that." He turned back to Cody. "You got a shield generator?" As luck would have it, the generator that intrigued Rick so much was under another tarp to Cody's immediate left. He unveiled the tech, a device consisting of a main box-like power unit, shield generator, and 24 cylindrical pieces to be set in various locations around the ship. "In perfect working condition," Cody said. "Set me up," Rick said. He looked to QR again as he realized that in amassing this much firepower, he had placed themselves in a new predicament. "We're gonna need a place to install all this stuff,"